I never thought I'd be the guy sitting here, typing out some story like this, but here I am. My name's Mike, and I was engaged to this woman, Lisa. We met about 3 years ago, and everything seemed perfect at first. She was smart, funny, sexy as hell, and seemed genuinely into me. We started talking about marriage pretty early, and I was all in. We planned our wedding, set a date, and I was finally starting to believe I'd found the one. But I'll be honest, I started noticing little things that didn't quite add up. At first, I just chalked it up to her being busy or stressed. She'd sometimes cancel plans last minute or seem distracted when we'd talk. She'd get calls I couldn't hear, and when I asked who it was, she'd brush it off with a quick, just work stuff, or it's nothing. I trusted her, so I let it go. Still, there was this nagging feeling that something wasn't right, especially when she started changing her routine. She suddenly had to stay late at work more often, and she'd be too tired to have sex sometimes. She'd also become more bitchy and dismissive when I'd ask about her day or if she wanted to do something together. She'd snap at me for asking questions, tell me I was being paranoid, or accuse me of not trusting her. I figured maybe I was just overthinking it, or maybe she was stressed about her job. We had our fights, sure, but I wanted to believe she loved me, and that all these little signs were just her way of dealing with her own shit. Then, about a month ago, I started noticing her phone acting weird. She'd always keep it close, even when she went to the bathroom or took a shower. One night I saw her hide her phone when I walked into the room, and I got suspicious. I grabbed her phone when she wasn't looking, just to peek, and that's when I saw the messages. They weren't just friendly work chats or innocent "how was your day" texts. No. They were explicit, flirty, talking about plans to meet up after work. There were references to sex, things that made my stomach turn. I couldn't believe what I was reading. I kept staring, trying to process what I just found out. Lisa had been cheating on me with her boss, Tom, the entire time we'd been engaged. All those late nights, all those work trips, they were with him. It hit me like a freight train. She'd been lying to my face for months, pretending she was just working or tired, while she was out getting her rocks off with her boss. I was so damn stupid for not seeing it, for trusting her when she kept telling me she loved me. I'd been planning our wedding, thinking about our future, and she was out screwing her boss, who's married himself, by the way, and now she's pregnant. That's the worst part. I found out she's pregnant, and she's been hiding it all along. I couldn't believe it. My head was spinning. I felt this wave of betrayal I'd never experienced before. I didn't sleep that night, just kept staring at the phone, trying to figure out what the hell I was supposed to do. I'd been so blind, so stupid to trust her, and now I was staring at a future I never wanted. I didn't know how to confront her without just losing my mind. I was angry, hurt, humiliated, and I knew this was just the beginning. The next morning, I couldn't keep it to myself anymore. I decided I had to confront her. Part of me hoped she'd deny it, that maybe I'd misread the messages, or that it was some kind of sick joke she was playing. But deep down, I knew the truth. I had seen enough, and I couldn't pretend any longer. I waited until she came home from whatever late meeting she said she had, and as soon as she stepped through the door, I knew I had to say something. I told her I needed to talk. She looked at me with that typical dismissive smirk, like I was bothering her, and said, "What's wrong, Mike? Can't a girl have a little fun at work without you freaking out?" That's when I pulled out her phone and showed her the messages. Her face immediately changed. Her smile faded, and that bitchy attitude she always had kicked in. She looked at me stunned, and then with that same smirk she said, "Oh, please, you're overreacting. It's just sex, Mike. It doesn't mean anything. I've never loved Tom like I love you. You're just insecure." Insecure? After what I saw, I'd been with her for years, planning our future, and now she's telling me that. I felt rage bubbling up. I told her I didn't believe a word of her bullshit, that I knew she'd been sleeping with her boss during our entire engagement. She rolled her eyes, started throwing out excuses, saying she was stressed, saying Tom's the one who came on to her, that she never really wanted it, but it just happened. Classic. Her poor me act. Like she didn't lie to my face every day. I couldn't take it. I told her I wanted the truth, and I wanted her to own up. She got defensive, started calling me paranoid, jealous, insecure, everything but taking responsibility. She kept insisting she loved me, that she'd never cheat if she didn't care, and that I was just being stupid. that I was overreacting because I didn't want to face the truth. But I saw her for what she was, someone who's been lying, cheating, and screwing around with her boss. My mind was racing. I felt a mixture of anger, heartbreak, and enough raw betrayal to crush me. I told her I needed some time to think, that I wasn't sure what to do anymore. She stormed out, muttering something about how I was overreacting, how she's done nothing wrong, and that I should just get over it. It was the last straw. That woman, Lisa, she's a master at lying and twisting things around, but I knew the truth now. And I knew I'd never look at her the same way again. That day, I stayed silent. I couldn't even look at her without feeling sick. I started questioning everything, our future, the wedding we planned, the life I thought we were building. I kept asking myself how I missed all the signs, how I was so blind to someone I loved. I told her I needed a break, that I needed to process what I'd just found out. But honestly, I was already plotting my next steps. There's no way I was going to let her get away with this, not without some kind of revenge. I wasn't sure what that would look like yet, but I knew I'd figure it out. And that's where I am now, trying to piece everything together, trying to stay sane, and trying to decide what's next. I know this isn't just a bad day or a temporary thing. It's a wake-up call, and I'll probably never trust her again. But I also know I have to do something, because she's not just a cheater, she's a liar, a manipulator, and now a mother-to-be with her boss. And I don't think I can stay quiet forever. After the confrontation, I spent the next few days in a fog. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat much, and kept replaying everything in my head. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face when I showed her the messages, her smirk, her dismissive tone, her pathetic excuses. I felt so stupid for trusting her, for believing she loved me. The fact that she's pregnant now just makes it all worse. I kept asking myself how I didn't see the signs earlier, how I missed all the red flags. But I wasn't just angry, I was hurt, deeply hurt. I had built so much around us, and now it all felt like a lie. I kept thinking about the wedding we'd planned, the future I'd imagined, and how she'd been lying to me from the start. It's like I was living in some nightmare I couldn't wake up from. I needed answers, real answers, and I knew I had to get them from her again. I couldn't just let her keep spinning her stories and pretending nothing happened. So I decided to confront her again. This time I was going to get everything out in the open. I waited for her to come home that evening, and when she walked through the door, I was already waiting in the living room with my phone ready. I told her I needed her to be honest with me, no more lies. She looked at me with that same bitchy smirk, like she thought she could manipulate her way out of this too. I told her I knew she's been cheating on me with Tom, and I want to know the truth, every detail. Her reaction was nothing like I expected. Instead of denying, she scoffed and rolled her eyes. "You really think I'm stupid enough to tell you everything? You think I'd tell you how many times we've done it? Please, Mike. You're such a drama queen. Tom and I, we're just having fun, okay? It's no big deal. The baby, yeah, I'm pregnant, but that doesn't mean I was cheating on you the whole time. You're just paranoid. You're so insecure, it's pathetic." I stared at her, feeling my blood boil. How could she be so callous? How could she just dismiss everything as if it was nothing? I told her I didn't believe a word of her bullshit, that I knew she was lying and hiding the truth, that I wasn't stupid enough to fall for her lies anymore. She looked at me with that sneer, then said something that cut deep. "You're just mad because you're not the one getting her pregnant. Tom's the real man, not you." That was it. That was the moment I realized she'd crossed every line. The woman I loved, the woman I was supposed to marry, had been screwing her boss during our entire engagement, and now she was throwing that in my face. I felt this rush of rage and despair, and I knew I had to do something. I couldn't let her keep lying, pretending she was innocent. I needed to get out of this situation, and I needed to do it fast. I told her to pack her shit and leave. I was done. I couldn't stay with someone who's been so dishonest, so manipulative, and so utterly selfish. She started yelling, calling me crazy, saying I was overreacting, that she loved me, that she'd never cheat if I wasn't such a controlling bastard. But I wasn't listening anymore. I knew the truth, and I knew I couldn't trust her. She stormed out that night, leaving her phone behind. I didn't care. I didn't want to see her, hear her lies. I just wanted the nightmare to end. Now I'm left here trying to piece my life back together. I feel betrayed, humiliated, and honestly pretty lost. I don't know what the future holds anymore, especially with her being pregnant and all. The worst part, knowing she's been lying to me for months and I was so blind. I thought I knew her, but she was just a stranger hiding behind that bitchy smile. I don't know how I'm going to get past this, but I do know one thing: I won't be the guy who gets played for a fool. Not anymore. The days that followed were the hardest of my life. I felt like I was walking around in a fog, going through the motions but not really there. Every time I thought about her, Lisa, I got this sick feeling in my stomach. I kept asking myself how I missed all the signs, how I let her lie to me for so long. It was like I'd been blind and now I was only waking up to the nightmare. The betrayal ran deep, so deep I didn't even recognize myself anymore. I spent hours staring at her old texts, her photos, trying to find some kind of explanation, some reason that made sense of all this madness. But there was nothing. Just her lies and her constant dismissiveness when I asked her about Tom or the pregnancy. She'd tell me it's none of my business, or accuse me of being jealous, of her cheating on me with her boss during our engagement, please. That girl, Lisa, she's always been good at manipulating her way out of everything. But this was next level. I knew I had to make a decision. I couldn't keep pretending I was okay with all this. I started talking to a lawyer about the legal side of things, what rights I had, what I could do to protect myself. I knew I couldn't trust her anymore, and I wasn't about to let her walk all over me. But even with that plan in motion, a part of me was still hoping I'd wake up from this nightmare and find out it was all some sick joke. Sadly, I knew better. This was real and it was ugly. One night I sat in my apartment alone, staring at the ceiling, feeling this crushing weight of betrayal. That's when I realized I couldn't stay in this situation. I wasn't just dealing with a cheating wife. I was dealing with a manipulative, narcissistic woman who had no remorse, no shame. She'd lied to me for months, lied about her feelings, about the pregnancy, about everything. And now she was probably out there with Tom, living her life like nothing had happened. I decided to confront her one last time. Not to beg, not to plead, I was done with that. But just to get some closure, to hear her say her piece and finally put an end to this nightmare. I sent her a message telling her I wanted to meet, that I needed clarity. She agreed, of course, with that same bitchy attitude she'd always had. When she showed up at my place, she looked unchanged, still the same smug smirk, still that bitchy attitude. I didn't waste time. I told her I knew everything, the affair, the pregnancy, all the lies, that I saw through her manipulations, and I was done. I told her she could keep her lies and her baby, but I wanted nothing to do with her anymore. I said I'd be filing for separation and taking custody of my life back. Her reaction: she laughed, a cold, bitter laugh, and said, "You really think you're getting rid of me that easily? You're so stupid, Mike. You don't even see what's coming." That line sent a chill down my spine. I knew she was capable of anything. I knew she'd try to keep pulling strings, trying to control the situation, spin her lies, or maybe even try to keep the baby from me. But I was done being played. I was done with her. I told her she'd never see me again after this, that she'd have to face the consequences of her actions. I left her standing there, furious, trying to lie her way out. Of it, I felt a mix of relief and emptiness. Relief because I was finally taking control of my life, but emptiness because I knew I was losing someone I once loved deeply. The heartbreak hit me hard, but I also felt this strange sense of liberation. For the first time in months, I felt like I was finally starting to breathe again. I had been so caught up in her lies, her manipulations, so blind to what she really was, that I had to rebuild from scratch. And honestly, I didn't know what was worse, the betrayal itself or how it had shattered my entire world. Now I'm trying to figure out how to move forward. I've cut all ties with her, filed the paperwork, and started focusing on myself. It's ugly, it's painful, but I know I have to do it. I keep telling myself that I deserve better than someone who lies, cheats, and manipulates her way through life. And despite everything, I'm trying to hold on to some hope that I'll come out of this stronger. That someday, I'll look back and realize this was just a chapter I had to get through to find the happiness I deserve. The weeks after everything hit me like a freight train, I threw myself into the legal process, trying to get custody of the baby, and protect what little dignity I had left. It was a whirlwind of meetings, paperwork, and those long nights where I'd lie awake wondering how the hell I let myself get involved with someone like Lisa in the first place. Every detail of her lies replayed in my mind. How she fooled everyone, how she played her part so perfectly, like she was some kind of actress in her own sick show. I kept asking myself why I didn't see it earlier. She was always bitchy, dismissive, and manipulative, but I convinced myself that was just her personality. Or maybe I was too in love to notice the warning signs. Now, I see her for what she really is, a selfish, lying woman who only cared about herself. That realization hit hard, and honestly, it fueled my anger. She never loved me. She just used me to get what she wanted: regret, attention, some kind of security that she was too afraid to admit she didn't actually want. I tried to piece my life back together, but honestly, it's been one of the hardest things I've ever gone through. I started falling into depression, questioning my self-worth. How could I have been so blind? How did I not see she was screwing her boss during our entire engagement? The trust I once had is gone, shattered into a million pieces. Still, I kept telling myself I was better off without her. I was finally free from her lies, and that meant I could start over. One day, I decided I needed to get some perspective. I went out with some friends, drank a lot, and just tried to forget for a while. But even then, her face, her lies kept haunting me. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her sneer, her cold attitude, her manipulative smile. I felt so betrayed, so humiliated. How could she do this to me, to us? I thought we had something real, something worth fighting for. Turns out, she was just pretending, and I was too blind to see it. I also started talking more openly about what I went through. I reached out to others who had experienced similar betrayals. It helped in a strange way. Knowing I wasn't alone, that other people had gone through this kind of pain gave me some strength. I realized I had to stop blaming myself. Not everything was my fault. Lisa was a master at lying and manipulating, and I was just caught in her web. But that doesn't mean I have to stay trapped. Now I'm focused on healing. I'm seeing a therapist, facing my feelings head on, and trying to rebuild my confidence. I still have questions, so many questions. Why did she do it? How could she lie to me for so long? Was I really that bad? But I know dwelling on those questions won't change anything. I have to accept what happened, learn from it, and move forward. The hardest part is forgiving myself for not seeing it sooner. Honestly, I don't know what the future holds. Part of me still hopes she'll try to come back, maybe to explain or apologize. But I know better. She's already shown her true colors, and I can't trust her again. I've realized that I deserve someone who genuinely loves me, who respects me enough not to cheat, lie, and manipulate. Right now, I'm just taking it one day at a time, trying to be better than I was yesterday. That's all I can do. If I've learned anything from all this, it's that betrayal cuts deep, way deeper than I thought possible. But it also taught me something important. I have to protect myself, trust my instincts, and never ignore the red flags next time. No matter how much you love someone, if they're lying to you and sneaking around behind your back, they don't deserve your trust. I hope my story can be a warning to anyone out there who might be in a similar situation. Don't ignore the signs, because when the truth finally comes out, it hurts like hell. But you have to be brave enough to face it, because only then can you truly start healing. Looking back now, I realize that the entire experience has changed me irreparably. I thought I knew what love was: trust, honesty, building a future together. But Lisa shattered that illusion in the worst way possible. Still, I also learned that sometimes you have to hit rock bottom to find the strength to climb back up. I've come to accept that I can't control her actions, and I certainly can't undo her lies. But I can control how I move forward, how I rebuild my life from the wreckage she left behind. One thing I've had to accept is that trust, once broken, is near impossible to fully repair. That doesn't mean I've closed myself off entirely, but I've become more cautious. I've learned to listen to my gut, to read the signs, and to value myself enough to walk away if something doesn't feel right. I've come to understand that love isn't just about sacrificing or ignoring red flags. It's about mutual respect and honesty. Without those, everything else crumbles. I've also realized the importance of self-worth. For a long time, I thought I was the problem, that somehow I wasn't good enough. But now I see it was Lisa's inability to be honest that was the real issue. She was the one who betrayed me, not me. I had to remind myself that I'm still a good man, despite her lies, that I deserve someone who genuinely cares for me, who doesn't see me as an option or a backup plan. The biggest lesson I take from all this is that betrayal is a test of character. It's a painful one, but it reveals who you really are. I've learned to stand up for myself, to value my feelings, and to never settle for someone who treats me like an afterthought. I've also learned that sometimes love means walking away, not because you're weak, but because you're strong enough to recognize what's toxic. Now, I focus on rebuilding my self-esteem and rediscovering what happiness means for me. I spend more time with my family, friends, and myself, things I neglected while caught up in the chaos of her lies. I still have scars, sure, but they remind me of how far I've come. I refuse to let her define my future or my worth. Most importantly, I've come to understand that life goes on. No matter how much it hurts now, this pain won't last forever. I'll find someone who truly loves me, someone who isn't afraid of honesty and trust. I'll build a new life, one that's more honest, more genuine, and more aligned with what I deserve. This story is my truth. If anyone reading this finds themselves in a similar situation, I want you to know you're not alone. It's okay to feel broken for a while. It's okay to be angry and hurt, but don't let that pain define you. Use it as fuel to become stronger, wiser, and more resilient. Trust takes years to build and seconds to destroy, but you can rebuild it better and more guarded when you're ready. In the end, betrayal taught me a hard, brutal lesson. Never ignore the red flags. Never settle for someone who doesn't value you. And above all, never let someone else's lies strip your dignity away. Because no matter how dark it gets, there's always a way back to the light. And I believe, no, I know, that I'll find it someday.